thanks a lot, Payal, for your film, for your beautiful film, All We Imagine as Light. Perhaps the most evident way to start off is to start with the city of Mumbai, um, which is well, you film very delicately. It's almost as if you're trying to slow down the city in a way, and you try to, or that was my interpretation, fight against certain cliches or preconceived ideas that people have of the city. So my question to you is, what's your relationship to the city, and how did you go about capturing it on film?
Um, yeah, the city is a very important part of the movie, and I wanted very much to stay away from the kind of cliched images of Mumbai, and that's why we focused more on everyday travel in Mumbai, which is usually by the local train. And if you live in Mumbai, the fastest way to get around is by the train. And so we wanted to kind of focus on showing the trains always as a big part of Mumbai. So the characters traveling to work are from the in the train, and you always hear the trains in the movie, or you always see them through a window, or yeah. So that was something that was important to us, and also to kind of shoot the city like a kind of a documentary feeling, because I didn't want to recreate the city. I wanted to shoot it as it was. And to do that, we can't go with a big camera into the city. So we went with like a smaller DSLR and shot the city with that.
And you start the film also with these sound recordings of people talking about the city, and there's this idea of Mumbai being a place of impermanence. People say, "I lived here for 23 years. I'm afraid to call it home." How did you go and collect these sound recordings, and what exactly was it that you were looking for in that moment?
I was not really when the sound recordings came from just meeting a lot of people while writing the script, and it was not part of the movie when we started out. But because I met so many people while in the pre-production, I felt that I should keep some of that as a kind of a documentary homage to those stories that I had collected in those very um, random encounters that I had, but I never recorded it at that time. I had just written them down. So now that I wanted to put them in the movie, what we did was that we took some of that material and went to more people now with a recorder and said, this person told us this about what it was like for him or her to come to the city the first time. What was it like for you? So like that, we collected many stories, and then which was a bit more directed. So Mumbai is a place where you get a kind of a microcosm of all this diversity, and that's what I wanted to highlight in this film, which is, about the many different people who come there and work.
Well, that brings us perhaps to the setting of the hospital and the characters of Prabha, Anu, and Parvati. Um, what was it that exactly attracted you to this environment and to these women?
Um, I wanted to place the movie in a hospital because I felt that the mise en scene of the hospital allowed me to have a lot of other discourse around women's health and contraception and subjects like this, which is why I decided that it would be in a hospital.
And the characters, how did you end up with them? Like, were they completely fictional, or was it also through talking to women at hospitals that you came up with these stories?
The characters were something that I had from the very start. I wanted to make a movie about two women who live together but are very different from one another. And that was sort of the starting point of this of the film. So that's where I started, and then obviously, as you meet more people, the characters get more and more fleshed out from experiences, and also from the actors, because they also will bring something into the characters, and that really was a great process for me.
Perhaps because at Film Fest Gent we tend to focus, or we have a focus on soundtrack, music, sound design, and especially in the first part of the film, the Mumbai part of the film, you often return to these piano pieces by
Yeah.
an Ethiopian jazz composer. What?
Ethiopian nun.
Hmm?
She's an Ethiopian nun.
Ethiopian nun, yes.
Yeah.
How did you encounter this music, and how did it work its way into the film?
She's actually really well known. She's a very well known composer and nun. She lived until the age of, I think, 93 or something like this, leaving behind an enormous body of work. So, if your audiences liked her music, you can Google Ethiopian nun Emma Hoy, and there is an incredible amount of work she's done. I mean, she's a master, and it's only so late that we are waking up to her incredible work. So I was very mesmerized by her piano pieces, and I wanted to use them as a kind of a leitmotif for the characters of Anu and Shiaz for their love story. Because when I heard the music, I found it to be very delightful, kind of like the starting of romance, how you can feel a bit light and silly. And I felt like this while listening to the music, and I wanted to kind of have it in the movie whenever we see them in frame.
Yeah, it's very playful, but it's also very melancholic in the same way.
Yeah.
What you talk about love, perhaps we should go there. Um, it's quite late in the film when we are in the cave with Anu and Shias, and they are communicating their love to each other. And Shias describes it as, well, as an absence of fear. And also in your previous film, A Night of Knowing Nothing, which is about student protests, you have talked about love as a political act, or a political thing. So I wanted to ask you, how are these connected? This love as politics, and the absence of fear.
I mean, I think love is political everywhere. It is two individuals uh, who are committing to each other with feelings, and human beings are not the same. So it's everybody's cultural background and gender, etc., are issues that bring them together, but also could lead to friction between them, and that is human nature. But in India, also, the questions of identity, caste, and religion are come in the way of falling in love often, or at least that legitimacy of that. And I think that there are forms of that in other countries in different ways, whether it has to do with race or sexual preferences. All these things are complicated um, when it comes to love. So uh, I think society really likes to come in the way of all these things, when actually it should be about two individuals who should express the way they feel, the way they want to. So that's what the film is about, and it's about having that choice to love who you want to love.
Um, I feel like waiting is also a theme, or an important theme throughout the whole film. You have Prabha, who is, or seems to be, waiting for her husband to return from Germany, when she's, hugging the rice cooker. Then there are these faces in the cave that Anu describes as, well, it seems like they're stuck here, like they're waiting for something to happen. This idea of waiting, is it applicable to the political context of India, or can we interpret it as a more, I don't know, existential question?
Um, I think with each of the characters, there's a different kind of desire, and I think waiting has to do with that. With Anu, who feels as if she's kind of stuck in this rut, and she's going to just have to follow, much like the women before her have had to fall in line. So she wants to challenge that in some way, but there is the fear of what will happen if you challenge that. And Prabha, who's been made to kind of believe that this is what she should desire, to have this man in her life who she doesn't really know and doesn't really love, but it's what she thinks is right, is the right thing to do. So I think it also, it really is a film um about how these women look at their place in the world, vis-a-vis their relationships. And for Prabha, there is what I was thinking about was the legitimacy of relationships. For Prabha, she's with somebody she's married to, but that marriage is not really a real marriage, and that is considered by everybody as a more legitimate relationship, and even by her, while Anu is actually in love with somebody, but it's going to be really hard for her to take that forward. So it's kind of the conflict that arises from this situation.
Perhaps to conclude with a question that is more personal, and you can answer it or not. But at Film Fest Gent, when we saw the film and we discussed it, we were really struck by the grace with which you seem to behold the world around us. How easy or difficult is that for you, and how can we as an audience perhaps learn how to watch the world around us with a similar and graceful gaze?
I think empathy is the most important thing in the world we live in, and it's and self-reflexivity. To question yourself in whatever you do is, for me, an important aspect of life. And I think that also comes from nonfiction filmmaking, because I think nonfiction filmmaking is intrinsically self-reflexive. To believe that you don't know everything is a good point to start.
Super.
Thank you.
Payal, thanks a lot for making time. We hope in the near future we can welcome you in Ghent.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye. Bye. Have a good screenings.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Bye bye.